are back. The ODL experience. Omie D learns with more or less. We here.
Made it. Made it.
2.2. Throw your hands in the air and wave them
These
like you.
hands.
That's the happy hieroglyph from the alphabet.
Oh
Happy.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that one. I was thinking it's the what emoji from the Apple store.
Oh, the photo. What with the
The
hands up?
emoji.
I
Mm-hmm.
love emojis. They've totally changed our entire world, or they've taken us back from actually writing. One of the two.
I'm a I'm a big fan. Like I was so scared of emojis for a while because it wasn't manly to text it. And then it was the manliest man I know, which is actually my cousin, who's a welder in the fields of Montana. And like anytime I see him, like we're almost identical in size and height and everything, but his hands are like rock hard because
Yeah.
he's an actual man, and my
Yeah.
hands are soft because I type on stuff. But one day I messaged him like 10, 12 years ago and asked him a question about something, and he sent back the little thumbs up. And I went, if he can do it, I can do that. And
Oh my
I've
god.
been on an emoji kick ever since.
Emojis. I mean, it's certain thing about the cell phone. Like, I really wasn't into texting. You remember when like women were just like, "Oh, I don't want when they text me." Blah, blah, blah. But before that, they were all about texting. When texting first became a thing, like people wouldn't answer the phone and stuff. Like women
Hmm.
wanted you to text them, like, "Don't call me, just text me." And all of a sudden, they're just all like, "Don't text, call." Like, I don't know what to do, so I just send poop emojis to everybody. That's just how we
Uh,
do it.
Back in the day when you'd get a message and be like, "Oh my God, 333-22-111-44444777-333," like,
Yeah, remember they used to charge us per character on cell phones?
that's man.
Yep, dated myself.
I would, yeah. I mean, hey, at least you found somebody to date.
Oh, it only took 20 years.
Oh,
Took a while, thanks to
goodness.
the pandemic. Woo!
Man, man, we got a fun episode today, and people are gonna think it's controversial, and if it is, it's because of them, not because of me.
That's right, you didn't do it.
No, I'm just reading off a script.
We're just journalists. That's all we are, okay? Don't hate the player, hate the journalist. I don't know. Don't hate the
Hey,
journalist, hate the game. There you go.
hate the teleprompter.
Hate the teller. Yeah, hate the teleprompter. That bastard in the back wrote something I'm just reading.
Boy, I think it's safe to say that we've got three parts coming in on this because, oh my God, there is so much religion. It, it's nutty how much religion there was, and if we were actually going to go through the whole religious history, it would take about as long to review it as it took to create it.
Oh,
Um,
that's horrible. Ugh.
oh well,
It
and
might
I
be
mean it.
as long as a church service. It's not gonna be like your Sunday church service in a Southern black church. We'll be out of here in a few minutes, so don't think we're about to pass. Well, I mean, we could pass the collection
It,
plate.
it, it, it won't be that much fun though, but I mean I think it's gonna be fun.
All right.
It's gonna be fun. So I got this going, and I'm gonna talk us through it, and I'm gonna really show some highlights, like some of the religions that we're familiar with, and by we I mean you and me,
Hmm.
and by you and me I mean me, because I'd find stuff. I'm like, I don't know how to say that, and what if Omi asked me a question, and I'm like, I don't know. Then why'd you put it on the little image? And I'm like, I don't know. So I really bounced around, and then I put, because some of the coolest stuff I found was when science was like, oh, this tree grew on this hill in 1942, and then some religious text was like, a tree will grow on this hill in 1942, and we're like, it happened.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, so I put that stuff in here. So I really thought that was the cool stuff to talk about with religion.
I'm gonna say "Oh my God" a lot in the next three episodes. Some are purposely, and some just because I'm amazed. So, "Oh my God."
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Jesus.
so I mean, let's start with the oldest thing we know, and that's the Big Bang, like 14 billion, nine zeros,
You.
14 billion years ago. Um, Jeff Bezos is worth 10 times in dollars as it was in years since the Big Bang.
Jeez, thanks to the pandemic, that man is loaded.
Like as many, if years were dollars and the Big Bang was $14 billion. Jeff Bezos is richer than the Big Bang.
He owns the creation of the world in money right now.
Yep.
That's amazing. Big Bang
Um,
baller.
if years were dollars, then human life expectancy would be about $79.
Oh my God.
Which I think is the total number of viewers we've had.
Hey, we're going for 81 this
Viewers.
episode. We're going to somewhere else in
81.
religion.
Get it. All right, so 14 billion years ago, we get the Big Bang. Shortly after that, like 9 billion years later, the sun forms. And then we get our first piece of religious history, which, if you notice on my little form there, I got like some solid lines saying that that's where we got some scientific fact or some concrete evidence, and then some dashed lines that are saying this is referred to in a script, because obviously nobody was there to see the creation of the universe. But in the Hindu religion, Brahma says that it started 4.3 billion years ago.
I believe him.
And if you look at when the sun forms, 5 billion, and then they're like, I think it started about 4.3 billion. Like, that's a cool guess. Like, that's good. I like it.
I have to give
Good job.
him that. I wonder if they even knew that the sun formed 5 billion years ago, or if he was just so enlightened that he was just like, it's 4.3 billion.
He heard from a friend.
Oh, yeah.
Who
they had told me. My uncle was there in 5 billion BC. It was dark, and then all of a sudden he had to put on sunglasses because of the sun.
Yeah. And then 3 billion years ago, we get life. And then fast forward, like 2.3 billion more. And then you get the dinosaurs. And we know the dinosaurs. And we know what happened with them. That's a good one. That's is that which episode is that?
This is the main theme. I love Jurassic Park. Big fan, big dinosaur fan. Wish I owned one.
You're a big dinosaur fan, or a fan of big dinosaurs?
Both.
Okay.
And
cool.
I wish I owned one. If I owned one, I would be so boss.
Which one would you own?
I would own a Velociraptor and a Brontosaurus.
How you doing with your two dogs?
Well, one is a Brontosaurus and the other one jumps around like a Velociraptor.
So add claws and teeth and a uncontrollable meat appetite, and tell me how it's gonna go.
Well, as long as they can eat blue buffalo, they might be okay. But if not,
That's true.
if not, we're screwed.
Blue buffalo. This episode brought to you by Blue Buffalo. If I had a dinosaur,
nailed it.
I would eat it blue buffalo.
You were so good at this. Hey, we really do need some blue buffalo. Send us that. We both got dogs.
That's true. That's true. Mine is not a Velociraptor.
Mine acts like one, but he's not. He's just a boxer and doesn't have much sense.
All right, so we're out of the billions and into the millions, and we're looking at 2 million years ago, and we get Lucy. Do you know who Lucy is?
Is that like the first skeleton that they found way back in Africa?
Fantastic guess, because you at least have an idea of what it is, because it's not the first skeletons. Obviously, we have dinosaur skeletons, because those were billions of years ago, and this is 2 million years ago.
Yeah.
So this is what's called the human link, and you have these anthropologists walking around Ethiopia, Donald Johansson and Tom Gray, and they'd been listening to the Beatles, and they kicked this rock. I mean, they know what they're looking for. They're up there looking for stuff. Or if you would have been you and me, would have been like, oh, that stupid rock, like, hey Jude, and moved on. But they kicked this rock, and they're like, you know what? That looks like an elbow. And the other one's like, oh, that definitely looks like an elbow. And one of them's like, you know what? This looks like the elbow of a primate. And they go, nope. This looks like the elbow of a human. And excavation later, turns out they're both right, because it was what's called the missing link, the human link between primate to human. They were both right about this elbow bone that they found in the middle of Ethiopia, and they discovered the missing link on our family tree between us and chimps.
The cradle of civilization, Ethiopia.
I do. I love
Let's
do it.
That is amazing. Great story, Lucy.
Thank you, Lucy. And that's because of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, like
Lucy
straight from the
in
Beatles.
the sky. Are you serious? That's how she got the name? That'd be
I
awesome.
said they were listening to the Beatles.
That is so awesome. Oh my God. There we go.
Hmm. Yeah,
See,
it could have been Jude,
it could have been.
but they went with Lucy.
Sweet Jesus.
Yep. Nope, Jesus isn't there yet. We'll get to him on the next episode.
Oh,
This episode, we only go through the ancient history, and then we're going to get to the BC, and then we'll get to the AD. So Jesus isn't here yet.
oh my God. I'll
Calm
slow down.
down with your calm down with your sweet Jesuses.
Okay.
All right. So, in a lot of this, I'm just trying to set up timing, like, because, we remember when the cave paintings happened in Indonesia. So, Indonesia is just up the road from Australia. And this is where they say that Homo sapiens arrived. Like, we got primates, and then we got Lucy making the transition for us. Like, she's the first trans primate, is like, I think I'm going to be a human. And she creates. Did you like that one?
He's a trans primate.
I mean,
I think I want to be a human. I relate to being a human more than I relate to being a
yeah.
primate.
But she was right, and here we are. And so she is the beginning of, more millions of years ago, thousands of years. And then we go to Paleolithic cave paintings in Indonesia. So right over by Australia on the little world map. And these are the cave paintings that we see where they're like spit blow in their hand, and there's like hands and buffalo, and that buffalo with 8 legs that they think is like a precursor to the motion pictures and I think future of Family Guy.
I got, I got you. Word.
Yeah. And then so obviously the Brahma said that the creation of the universe was 4.3 billion years ago. But here's where we first see something significant happen that we start seeing in multiple stories. So it's the end of the Ice Age, right about 9500 BC. Okay. So it's the end of the Ice Age, and all the continents on our planet look about like they do right now. So you and I would have no idea what the difference was if we found a globe from then and a globe from now, because we're just not smart enough to tell the difference because they're that close. Like Pangea's gone, US is over here, Africa's still 8 times bigger, even though they make it smaller on a map because they're a bunch of ignorant people, and then Europe is still up here. But the big difference is there's these huge glaciers everywhere that come past Canada down into the US. It's like covered in glaciers everywhere, and ice doesn't make things wet, ice makes things dry.
Oh, unlike Titanic where ice made everybody wet.
Correct.
Yes.
Fact.
Glaciers.
Yeah. So it is the end of the Ice Age and the Black Sea floods. And as we know, the Black Sea is over Ethiopia area, like, yes, and the Middle East. And so the Black Sea floods. And this is all the timing that we have for all of the flood stories throughout history. Like, we see flood stories, Noah, all these boat stories, everything about the world flooding relates exactly to the end of the Ice Age and the flooding of the entire planet.
You know what I'm about to say? Oh my God, that just hit me.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Continue on, please. I have to know more about Noah.
So the thing is, Noah's not the only story. There's so many different flood stories that even putting Noah on here would have been the obvious one. There's so many different ones. The sinking of Atlantis that we hear about from Plato. Like, Plato's not going to be around until 400 BC, but he heard from a friend who heard from a friend that there was this city that sunk, and it was called Atlantis, and you should really go looking for it, but it sunk right around 9500 BC. I don't know. I think that's about when the Ice Age ended and all the floods started happening. Plato knew. Somehow Plato knew.
He's high.
Probably.
Yes.
We've also got Gilgamesh that happens back then, and Gilgamesh is this king of Uruk, and he searches for the secret of immortality. Okay, so he's looking for it, and he finds this guy who saved a world from a flood because he built a boat, and so there's that story there. But it's really cool because the story of Gilgamesh only happens about the time. But later on down this timeline, we're going to see that the story of Gilgamesh was found on some clay tablets. And that's going to turn into the oldest text we ever see that's about Gilgamesh that happened at the same time as all these floods.
Man, I thought that was just some crappy book they made us read in high school.
Gilgamesh?
Yeah.
That is going to be the first epic story that turns into all the other epic stories, including floods and all of it. Like, he's the big flood story hero, and wherever he goes, he crosses this pool where he can't touch the water, and he meets a guard on one side, and it's nutty what he has to do and what he goes through in the Epic of Gilgamesh.
I'm gonna have to read this instead of the Cliff Notes.
You might have to. Okay, so we know about the sinking of the Atlantis that Plato talks about. We know about all the flood stories, and all that's happening before people start domesticating animals, sheep, and then we get into agriculture. Like, really, the source of everything that we know that begins, like human civilization, starts happening after that, about 2,000 years after all that. So we've got these stories that are epic stories, and then human civilization starts coming together the way that we know it.
Mm-hmm.
And then somehow, right in the middle of it, at October 23rd, 4004 BC at 9 a.m.
Business day.
You've got the biblical creation of the world. And why we don't celebrate October 23rd, I don't know, because according to all the Christian scholars in like 400 AD, they decided that this was not only the year or the century or the month, but 9 a.m. Like,
that's what I was going to say. How did they get 9 a.m.? That sounds very corporate to me and suspicious.
I wanted to know, is that like New York time?
Yes,
is that
Central Standard? When did that happen? Is that Greenwich
I think
time?
it's Mountain time.
Yeah, it had to be. Nobody cares about Mountain time. Shout outs to people in the Mountain time. But have you ever noticed there's never like, hey, this happens at like 9 a.m. Central and like 7 a.m. Mountain. Like, they never give Mountain time for TV shows. Like, shout outs to Mountain time.
I mean, then it's Mountain time. It's also October, so I mean, was daylight savings happening? Like, was it kind of dark outside still, or did they account for daylight savings and it was pretty bright outside? Like, what's going on? It's the creation of the world right there. Somehow after all these other stories happened, I don't know.
I was gonna say, like, what about all this other stuff? So that's all of a sudden. So the rest of this stuff didn't happen, but then the world got created right there at 4000 BC, according to the biblical world.
4004, October 23rd, 9 a.m.
So how the hell did Noah exist if the world wasn't even running around in the flood?
Don't ask questions.
Oh, that's right. That's how I got kicked out of church.
I got kicked out because I had coffee in my hand.
That was a great story. You might want to watch season 1 about that.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I can wrap this up pretty quick. So the other thing that happens is we get our first calendar, and it's the Judaism comes up with a calendar. It's a Hebrew calendar, and it is an indirect product of the Babylonian calendar and a distant cousin to the Gregorian calendar that we have. And although this Hebrew calendar, was good about telling people what to do, they weren't really watching a clock or what's going on. And it wasn't off by a little. It was off by 11 days. Okay. So they didn't have a leap year to catch up. Every 2 or 3 years, they had to add another month to be able to catch up to the right to the right time of year. So much later, somebody comes up with a better calendar, and that holds. But a lot of things from the Hebrew calendar, as far as celebrations, are still derived from using this calendar that was off by 11 days for the creation or the deciding when their religious holidays and everything were going to be.
So they just kept adding months randomly. They're like, hey, doctor something or lawyer.
Shouldn't it be cold by now? Oh yeah. Here's we got another month before that happens.
Let me throw that November in there right quick. How you like that?
Yeah. Yeah. And then, we get Pope Gregory the 13th comes up with the calendar with 365 and a quarter days, which gives us a leap year, a single day every 4 years. And it's so efficient that we've kept it because they're like, oh, 365 and a quarter days. Nailed it.
Nailed it. Yeah, that's how you know it was accurate. It was 0.25.
Correct. And then we finish off this episode talking about the Great Pyramids, and this is really where the first script comes in. Like everything else is stories about, like I heard from my friend that this was happening. But then we've got the pyramids, and these are like the pyramids that you know of and that we see and people still visit. I don't know how far you can get into it,
Hmm.
but these stories are literally written on the walls of the pyramids. So they haven't gone anywhere. They're still there. We don't have any scripts. We don't have any pages. We don't have any clay tablets from anything before that. It's literally written on the walls of the pyramids. And they kind of go more into about what you should do in life and why the pharaoh doesn't have to do what you're doing. So calm down. He's got the head of a goat or a cat or whatever, but you should still, push large rocks into a pile to celebrate me. We'll call it a religion, and we kind of start there.
Well, I think I'm starting to learn a little bit more about religions. And I'm interested to know why the Pharaoh was the head of a cat, but obviously he or she was onto something because we've
I
got
think
great
so.
pyramids. So, you know what? What do we have coming up next for the next episode? Like we got episode 2. There's more religious history coming for these people.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is just ancient history that we've gone through about what happened and probably more science than anything. And sorry if I'm not there, but it's all necessary to get there because then we're going to go through the BC, all that BC stuff
Yeah.
that goes from 3000 BC up until what BC means, birth of Christ.
Oh, I thought it was before Craig, but okay, I was wrong. It's
Maybe it is.
it could be. Maybe Craig Christ. It could be his name. Jesus might not even be his first name. It might have been his middle name. Craig Jesus Christ. Who knows? We'll find out on the next episode of the ODL Experience. We're coming back with more religious history. Say bye.
Bye.